The Galactic Council chamber erupts in laughter, drowning out Ambassador Kora's desperate plea for aid. The Brunali diplomat stands alone, her scaled skin flushing deep purple with humiliation. Her species, technologically inferior and facing imminent invasion by the aggressive Kazin Empire, finds no allies among the assembled galactic powers. As Kora's shoulders slump in defeat, a pair of keen human eyes observe the proceedings via holographic transmission. Thomas King, Earth's diplomatic representative, watches from his office in orbit around humanity's homeworld. His mind races, recognizing an unprecedented opportunity to elevate humanity's standing in the galactic community. King's fingers dance across his console, initiating a secure transmission to the departing Brunali ship. "Ambassador Kora," he begins, his voice steady and confident, "I have a proposition that could save your people and change the fate of 2 species." Kora, her antennae twitching with skepticism, agrees to a clandestine meeting on a neutral space station. As King prepares for departure, alarms blare across Earth's information networks. The Kazin Empire, emboldened by the Galactic Council's inaction, has launched a surprise attack on a Brunali colony world. King's ship, sleek and armed with experimental cloaking technology, slips away from Earth's orbit. On board, a team of Earth's top military strategists pore over tactical displays, while engineers make final adjustments to a prototype plasma cannon, a testament to human ingenuity and a potential game-changer in the coming conflict. As King's vessel approaches the rendezvous point, a Brunali science vessel decloaks nearby. Ambassador Kora transmits a terse message. "We're here. Let's hope your species can deliver on its promises." The 2 ships dock, and King leads his team aboard the station. They're greeted by Kora and a delegation of Brunali scientists, their arms laden with data crystals containing information on their planet's defenses and resources. The atmosphere is tense, filled with both hope and suspicion. As negotiations begin, a sensor operator on King's ship notices an anomaly. "Sir," she calls out, her voice tight with urgency, "a Kazin battlecruiser just entered the system." King's mind races. The Kazin shouldn't know about this meeting unless... He turns to Kora, suspicion flaring. "Did you inform anyone else of our arrangement?" Before Kora can respond, the station rocks with weapons fire. The Kazin have opened fire, their intentions clear, to eliminate any potential alliance before it can form. "Everyone, back to the ship!" King shouts, ushering the Brunali delegation along with his team. They race through the station's corridors as alarms blare and emergency force fields flicker to life. King's ship, its experimental cloaking device engaged, slips away from the doomed station with both human and Brunali passengers aboard. As they set course for Earth, King receives a priority transmission from the UN Security Council. The message is clear and chilling. The Galactic Council has imposed sanctions on any species aiding the Brunali. Earth now stands at a crossroads. To honor their agreement with the Brunali means facing not only the military might of the Kazin Empire, but also political and economic isolation from the galactic community. To back down would mean abandoning a potential ally and losing a chance to prove humanity's worth on the cosmic stage. As his ship hurtles through space, pursued by Xin forces and carrying the hopes of 2 species, Thomas King steels himself for the challenge ahead. He must convince Earth's leaders to commit to this risky alliance, knowing that failure could mean not only the fall of the Brunali, but also humanity's exclusion from galactic affairs. The humans and Brunali aboard King's ship work feverishly, combining their knowledge and technologies. They know that somewhere in this fusion of human military prowess and Brunali resource, wealth lies the key to their survival, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. King's ship emerged from hyperspace near Earth's orbital station, its hull still bearing scorch marks from the Kazin attack. As they approached, the massive structure of humanity's primary off-world hub came into view, its gleaming solar panels reflecting the distant sun. "Docking procedure initiated," announced the pilot, her fingers dancing across the control panel. King turned to Ambassador Kora, who stood rigidly beside him, her antennae twitching nervously. "We're about to make history," he said, offering a reassuring smile. The ship settled into its berth with a soft thud. As the airlock cycled open, King led the way, Kora and her delegation close behind. They were greeted by a tall, imposing figure in a crisp military uniform, adorned with gleaming medals. "Ambassador King," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm Admiral Jason Hawk, head of Earth Space Force. Welcome back." King shook the Admiral's hand firmly. "Thank you, Admiral. We have much to discuss." Hawk's eyes darted to the Brunali delegation, his expression a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "I see you've brought guests." "Yes," King replied, gesturing to Cora. "This is Ambassador Cora of the Brunali. She and her team are here to discuss a matter of utmost urgency." Hawk nodded curtly. "My office, then. Follow me." As they walked through the station's bustling corridors, King couldn't help but notice the sideways glances and hushed whispers their group attracted. Humans and aliens alike paused in their tasks to stare at the unusual procession. Once inside Hawk's office, King wasted no time. He outlined the situation, emphasizing the strategic importance of an alliance with the Brunali. As he spoke, he could see Hawk's expression shift from skepticism to intrigue. "You're saying the Brunali have access to dilithium crystals?" Hawk asked, leaning forward in his chair. Cora nodded, her scales shimmering under the office lights. "Our planets are rich in dilithium deposits. We've been hesitant to exploit them fully, given our limited technological capabilities, but with Earth's help—" "And you're willing to share this resource?" Hawk pressed. "In exchange for your military aid against the Kazin, yes," Cora replied. Hawk stood pacing behind his desk. "This could be the opportunity we've been waiting for, a chance to test our capabilities against a major galactic power." He turned to King. "But the political ramifications are considerable, I know," King finished. "That's why I've requested an emergency session of the Earth Council. President Steele needs to hear this directly from us." Hours later, King found himself standing before the Earth Council, the chamber buzzing with tension. President Marcus Steele, a tall man with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, called the session to order. "Ambassador King, you have the floor," Steele announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. King stepped forward, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. He presented the case for the Brunali alliance, his words carefully chosen to emphasize both the benefits and the risks. The debate that followed was heated. Counselors argued back and forth, their voices rising as they weighed the potential consequences of defying the Galactic Council's sanctions. "We cannot stand idly by while an innocent species is conquered," one counselor shouted. "And risk our own standing in the galactic community?" another countered. "We've worked too hard to gain a foothold." President Steele listened intently, his expression unreadable. When the arguments had run their course, he called for a vote. The chamber fell silent as the votes were tallied. King held his breath, acutely aware of Cora's presence beside him, her entire species' fate hanging in the balance. "The vote is 51 in favor, 49 against," Steele announced. "The motion passes. Earth will honor its agreement with the Brunali and provide immediate military support." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. King felt a wave of relief wash over him, tempered by the knowledge that the real challenge was just beginning. Admiral Hawk wasted no time. Within hours of the vote, he had mobilized Earth's first expeditionary fleet. King watched from the orbital station as ship after ship departed, their engines flaring bright against the darkness of space. The flagship, EFS Thunderchild, was a sight to behold. Its sleek hull bristled with weapon ports, a testament to human engineering and perseverance. As King prepared to board the Thunderchild, he received an urgent communication from Cora. Her voice trembled as she relayed the news. Brunali colonies were falling to the Kazin assault, and their homeworld was under siege. "We're on our way," King assured her, his eyebrows furrowed. "Hold on, Ambassador. Help is coming." The Thunderchild's bridge hummed with activity as they entered hyperspace. Admiral Hawk stood at the command station, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. King took his place beside him, ready to serve as the diplomatic liaison between Earth's forces and their new Brunali allies. As they hurtled towards Brunali space, pushing their engines to the limit, King couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. The fate of two species now rested on the outcome of the coming battle, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Thunderchild emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Brunali system, immediately greeted by the chaos of battle. The view screen filled with flashes of weapons fire and the burning hulks of destroyed ships, both Kazin and Brunali. Admiral Hawk's voice rang out clear and commanding. "All ships, battle formations, prepare to engage." King watched as the fleet spread out, sleek Earth vessels moving with practiced precision. The Kazin armada loomed before them, their ships massive and jam-packed with weaponry. "Target the lead dreadnoughts," Hawk ordered. "Concentrate fire on their command decks." The Thunderchild's weapons officer responded immediately. "Plasma cannons charged and locked on target, sir." Fire! Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the Earth ships, slamming into the Kazin vessels. The advanced plasma technology proved its worth as Kazin shields buckled and hulls ruptured under the onslaught. King turned to Korra, who stood rigid beside him, her eyes fixed on the battle. "Your people are holding their own down there," he said, gesturing to a tactical display of the Brunali homeworld. Korra nodded, her antennae twitching. "They fight with the strength of desperation, but without your help, it would not be enough." As the battle raged, King's mind raced. The sheer number of Xin ships was staggering. Despite the effectiveness of Earth's weapons, they were in danger of being overwhelmed. "Admiral," King said, stepping forward, "I have a proposition." Hawk turned, his eyebrow raised. "I'm listening, Ambassador." King outlined his plan quickly, explaining how they could use the experimental cloaking technology to infiltrate the Kazin command structure. Hawk's eyes narrowed as he considered the proposal. After a moment, he nodded. "It's risky, but it might be our best shot. I'll assign Captain Vega to lead the mission." Within minutes, Captain Marcus Vega and his team were briefed and ready. They boarded a modified stealth shuttle, its sleek black hull designed to blend with the darkness of space. "Remember," Hawk said over the comm as the shuttle prepared to launch, "your primary objective is to disable their command capabilities. If you can take out their flagship, even better." Vega's voice came back crisp and confident. "Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down." The shuttle slipped out of the Thunderchild's hangar, its cloaking device engaged. On the bridge, King watched it disappear from sensors. "Now," Hawk said, turning back to the main view screen, "let's give them something to focus on. Helm, execute maneuver Delta 7. The Earth fleet moved in perfect synchronization, a portion of the ships appearing to break off and retreat. The Kazin took the bait, a significant number of their vessels peeling away to give chase. "They're dividing their forces," the tactical officer reported. "We have an opening." Hawk nodded. "All remaining ships, push forward. Let's break their line." The battle intensified as Earth's fleet pressed their advantage. The Thunderchild led the charge, its plasma cannons cutting through Kazin defenses. Meanwhile, aboard the cloaked shuttle, Vega and his team approached the massive Kazin flagship, the Fang of Conquest. Its hull dwarfed their small craft, jam-packed with weapon emplacements and sensor arrays. "There," Vega said, pointing to a small access hatch. "That's our way in." The shuttle maneuvered carefully, avoiding debris and weapons fire. With practiced precision, they docked with the Kazin ship, the magnetic seal engaging with a soft thud. Vega turned to his team, his expression grim. "Remember your training. These Kazin are tough, but we have the element of surprise. Move fast, stay quiet, and watch each other's backs." They nodded, checking their weapons one last time before cycling the airlock. The corridors of the Kazin flagship were dimly lit and cramped by human standards. Vega led the way, his motion tracker sweeping for any sign of the enemy. They encountered their first resistance at a junction. Two Kazin warriors, massive feline forms towering over the humans, rounded the corner. For a split second, both sides froze in surprise. Vega reacted first, his plasma rifle humming to life. The Kazin, despite their size and strength, were caught off guard. They fell before they could raise the alarm. "Move!" Vega hissed. "They'll have heard that." The team pushed forward, their pace quickening. Alarms began to blare throughout the ship as they fought their way towards the bridge. Back in space, the battle continued to rage. Earth's ships, though fewer in number, were proving their technological superiority. The Kazin fleet, however, seemed endless. On the Thunderchild's bridge, King received an urgent communication from the Brunali surface. Cora's face appeared on the screen, her scales dark with stress. "Ambassador," she said, her voice tight, "the Kizin have launched a major ground offensive. Our defenses are faltering." King turned to Hawk. "Admiral, we need to provide more orbital support." Hawk nodded grimly. "Divert all available firepower to support the ground defense, and get me a status update on Vega's team." As if in answer, the tactical display lit up with new activity. The Fang of Conquest was suddenly alive with internal weapons fire and explosions. "Looks like Vega found the bridge," Hawk said, a grim smile on his face. Inside the Kazin flagship, Vega's team had indeed reached their objective. They stood before the massive doors of the bridge, the sounds of frantic activity audible from within. "This is it," Vega said, setting the last charge. "Once we breach, hit them hard and fast. Remember, we're here to disrupt, not conquer." He activated the detonator. The explosion rocked the ship, and the doors blew inward in a storm of metal and fire. Through the smoke, Vega and his team charged onto the Kizin bridge. The battle that ensued was chaos. Kizin officers, caught completely by surprise, scrambled for weapons. Vega's team moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons cutting down the enemy with surgical precision. In the center of the bridge stood General Gurek, the Kazin Supreme Commander. His massive form towered over even his fellow Kazin, his fur filled with rage. "Destroy them!" he roared, his voice shaking the very deck plates. Vega locked eyes with the Kazin general, recognizing the pivotal moment. As his team engaged the bridge crew, he raised his weapon, aiming directly at Gurek. The fate of the battle, and perhaps the war itself, hung in the balance as human and Kazin faced off in the heart of the enemy flagship. Vega's finger tightened on the trigger, his aim steady despite the chaos around him. General Gurek's eyes blazed with fury as he launched himself forward, his massive form a blur of motion. The plasma bolt sizzled through the air, striking the Kazin leader square in the chest. Gurek stumbled, his momentum carrying him forward even as he fell. Vega rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding being crushed by the general's bulk. "Bridge secured!" Vega shouted, his team moving swiftly to subdue the remaining Kazin officers. But their victory was short-lived. Alarms blared, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the ship's systems. "Self-destruct sequence initiated. All personnel evacuate immediately." Vega's blood ran cold. "Damn it!" he hissed, rushing to the main control console. His fingers flew over the alien interface, desperately searching for a way to abort the countdown. Meanwhile, in the bowels of the Fang of Conquest, Lieutenant Sarah Chen and her team fought their way through cramped corridors towards the main reactor. The ship's internal gravity fluctuated wildly, sending Kazin and human alike careening into walls and each other. "We're almost there," Chen called out, her voice barely audible over the sound of plasma fire and clashing metal. They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a squad of Kazin engineers. The ensuing firefight was brutal and swift. Chen's team, their movements honed by countless hours of training, made short work of the larger but less agile Kazin. As the last enemy fell, Chen rushed to the reactor control panel. "Cover me!" she ordered, her hands already busy interfacing their Earth tech with the Kazin systems. Back on the Brunali homeworld, the streets of the capital had become a war zone. Earth's orbital support rained down precision strikes on Kazin positions, allowing Brunali forces to push forward block by block. Ambassador Cora stood in the Planetary Defense Center, her scales shimmering with tension as she coordinated between Earth ships and Brunali ground forces. "We need immediate support at Sector 7. A Brunali commander's voice crackled over the comm. "Kazin heavy armor incoming!" Cora relayed the request to the orbiting Earth fleet. Moments later, the ground shook as plasma bolts struck the advancing Kazin vehicles with pinpoint accuracy. In orbit, Admiral Hawk watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Thunderchild. The tactical display showed Earth ships pressing their advantage, their superior technology allowing them to dance between the lumbering Kazin cruisers. A priority message flashed on Hawk's console. His eyes widened as he read the ultimatum from the approaching Galactic Council fleet. 1 hour, he muttered. "We need to end this now." Hawk's mind raced, analyzing the battlefield. He saw a weakness, a thinning in the Kzin's defensive line where their ships had been drawn away to chase Earth feint. "All ships, form up on me," Hawk ordered. "We're punching through their lines. Concentrate all fire on Grid 34A." The Earth fleet moved as one, their formation tightening as they accelerated towards the gap in the Kzin defenses. Plasma cannons blazed, tearing through Kzin shields and armor. On the fang of conquest, Vega's fingers flew across the alien controls, sweat beading on his brow as he fought to override the self-destruct sequence. Come on," he muttered, acutely aware of the countdown ticking away. A sudden lurch nearly knocked him off his feet. The ship's lights flickered, then died, plunging the bridge into darkness. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in a dull red glow. "Chen," Vega breathed, a grim smile crossing his face. In the reactor room, Chen and her team worked feverishly, rerouting power and sabotaging key systems. Kzin's security teams pounded on the sealed doors, their howls of rage audible even through the thick metal. "That should do it," Chen said, stepping back from the console. "We've bought the captain some time, but we need to move. Now!" As if in response, the ship shuddered violently. Chen steadied herself against a bulkhead, her eyes meeting those of her team. Without a word, they readied their weapons and moved towards the exit. On the bridge, Vega let out a triumphant shout as the self-destruct sequence finally aborted. He opened a channel to the Thunderchild. "Admiral, this is Vega. We've taken the bridge and disabled their self-destruct. The Kzin flagship is ours." Hawk's voice came back, tight with tension. "Well done, Captain, but we're not out of the woods yet. The Galactic Council is breathing down our necks. We need to force a Kzin surrender in the next 30 minutes, or we'll all be facing sanctions." Vega's mind raced. "Sir, I have an idea, but it's risky." "At this point, Captain, I'm all ears." As Vega outlined his plan, the battle continued to rage across the Brunali system. Earth ships carved through the Kzin fleet, their superior tactics and technology finally tipping the scales. On the planet's surface, Brunali forces pushed forward with renewed vigor, bolstered by precise orbital strikes from Earth's fleet. The Kzin invaders found themselves caught between hammer and anvil, their supply lines cut and their command structure in chaos. In the Planetary Defense Center, Cora received word of a major Kzian ground force surrendering in the southern continent. She allowed herself a moment of hope before turning back to the tactical display, her antennae twitching with tenacity. As the deadline set by the Galactic Council drew ever closer, the fate of two species hung in the balance. The next few minutes would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity's place in the galactic community. The next few minutes would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity's place in the galactic order. Suddenly, a massive vessel materialized at the edge of the system, its sleek design unlike anything seen before. The ship's presence seemed to freeze the battle in place, combatants on both sides pausing in awe and trepidation. "Sir," the communication officer on the Thunderchild called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the incoming vessel. They identify themselves as the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Fleet." Admiral Hawk's lips pursed. "Put it through." A stern voice filled the bridge. "This is Council, Representative Zaxalor, aboard the Arbiter of Justice. We demand an immediate cessation of all hostilities. All parties are summoned to a hearing aboard our vessel. Failure to comply will result in severe sanctions." Hawk exchanged a glance with Thomas King. "Understood, Representative. We'll prepare our delegation immediately." He turned to his crew. "Stand down all weapons, but maintain defensive positions around Brunali." As Earth ships disengaged, the Kzin fleet retreated to a safe distance, their remaining forces in disarray. On the planet's surface, Brunali troops reported mass surrenders of Kzin ground forces, cut off from their fleet and facing imminent defeat. Aboard the captured Kzin flagship, Captain Vega received the order to bring General Gurak and key Kzin officers to the council ship. He watched as his team secured the prisoners, the once mighty Kzin leader now bound and subdued. "How the tables have turned, General," Vega muttered, more to himself than to Gurak. The Xene merely growled in response, his eyes burning with a mixture of fury and grudging respect. As shuttles from various factions converged on the arbiter of justice, Thomas King found himself in a small craft alongside Ambassador Cora and Admiral Hawk. The Brunelli diplomat's scales shimmered with nervous energy. "We must present a united front," Cora said, her voice low. "The Council cannot ignore the evidence we've gathered." King nodded, his mind racing through the arguments they'd prepared. "We'll make them see reason. Earth and Brunelli standing together, that has to count for something." The shuttle docked with the massive Council ship, its cavernous hangar bay dwarfing the small craft. As they disembarked, King couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the advanced technology surrounding them. A delegation of Council security personnel, led by a tall, blue-skinned being, approached. "I am Kretal, aide to Representative Zaxlor. Please follow me to the hearing chamber." As they walked through the ship's gleaming corridors, King noticed other delegations being escorted as well. He caught sight of the Xene group, led by a scarred warrior he didn't recognize, flanked by heavily armed guards. The hearing chamber itself was a vast circular room dominated by a raised dais where the Council members sat. Representative Zaxlor, a Ragelian with piercing eyes and an air of absolute authority, called the session to order. "We are here to address the conflict in the Brunelli system." Zaxlor's voice resonated through the chamber. "The Council will hear testimony from all parties involved. Ambassador Thomas King of Earth, you may present your case." King stepped forward, his heart pounding, but his voice steady. He began to lay out the evidence they had gathered: sensor logs showing the initial Xene assault, communication records of Brunelli's ignored pleas for help, and testimonies from refugees who had witnessed the devastation firsthand. As he spoke, holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing the brutal efficiency of the Xene attack and the measured response of Earth's forces. King emphasized the defensive nature of their intervention, highlighting their efforts to minimize casualties on both sides. Earth could not stand idly by while an entire species faced annihilation, King concluded. Our actions were not only justified, but necessary in the face of the Council's inaction. Ambassador Cora stepped forward next, her voice trembling with emotion as she recounted the destruction of Brunelli colonies. "We begged for help, and the Council turned a blind eye. If not for Earth's intervention, my people would be nothing more than a memory." Admiral Hawk presented tactical data, his crisp military demeanor lending weight to his words. He showed how Earth's superior technology had allowed them to neutralize the Xene threat with minimal loss of life. As the Human Brunelli Alliance concluded their presentation, the Xene delegation took center stage. Their leader, introducing himself as Commander Razorclaw, attempted to justify their actions as a preemptive strike against a potential threat. The Brunelli's rapid technological advancements posed a clear danger to Xene interests in the sector, Razorclaw growled. "We acted to protect our people." His arguments, however, began to crumble under the weight of evidence presented by King and his allies. Razorclaw's eyes darted nervously to the bound form of General Gurrick, who had remained silent throughout the proceedings. Suddenly, the general's deep voice rumbled through the chamber. "Enough lies, Razorclaw. We attacked because we could, because we saw the Brunelli as weak. There was no threat, only opportunity." A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Gurrick's admission, bound by a warrior's code of honor, seemed to shift the atmosphere in the room. Representative Zaxlor's expression remained impassive as he called for a recess to deliberate. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, King caught snippets of conversation from other species, many expressing surprise and admiration for Earth's actions. In a quiet corner, King huddled with Cora and Hawk. "I think we've made our case," he said cautiously, "but the Council's decision could go either way." Hawk nodded grimly. "Whatever happens, we need to be prepared for the aftermath. This isn't over, not by a long shot." As they waited for the Council's verdict, King couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. The fate of two species, and perhaps many more, hung in the balance, awaiting the judgment of the Galactic Council. Council, the fate of two species, and perhaps many more, hung in the balance, awaiting the judgment of the Galactic Council. After what felt like an eternity, the delegates were summoned back to the chamber. Representative Zaxalor's voice rang out, silencing the murmurs of anticipation. "The council has reached a decision," he announced, his piercing gaze sweeping across the assembled representatives. "We find that the human intervention in the Brunali system, while unorthodox, was justified given the circumstances. Earth's actions have demonstrated both their technological capabilities and their commitment to galactic stability." A collective sigh of relief escaped from the human and Brunali delegations. King felt a weight lift from his shoulders, but he knew this was only the beginning. Zaxalor continued, "Therefore, we extend a provisional invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Council, with full membership to be determined after a probationary period. The Kizin Empire will face sanctions for their unprovoked aggression, and reparations to the Brunali people will be enforced." As the council session adjourned, King found himself surrounded by a flurry of activity. Alien diplomats approached, some offering congratulations, others eyeing the humans with barely concealed suspicion. Ambassador Cora embraced him, her antennae quivering with emotion. "We did it, Thomas," she said, her voice thick with gratitude. "You've given my people a future." King nodded, his mind already racing with the implications of their new status. "This is just the beginning, Cora. We have a lot of work ahead of us." In the days that followed, Earth became a hive of activity. President Marcus Steele addressed the United Nations, outlining the opportunities and challenges that came with their newfound galactic standing. Admiral Jason Hawke, hailed as a hero of the Brunali conflict, was tasked with overseeing the rapid expansion of Earth's defensive capabilities. On the Brunali homeworld, the scars of war were slowly healing. Earth sent aid and reconstruction teams, transforming devastated cities into gleaming examples of human Brunali cooperation. The once vulnerable planet buzzed with activity as Brunali and human engineers worked side by side, integrating their technologies to create formidable defensive systems. Thomas King, now Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council, found himself thrust into a political arena more complex than anything he had faced before. As he navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Council's headquarters on a distant space station, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. "Ambassador King," a gravelly voice called out. King turned to see a tall reptilian being approaching. "I am Skith of the Drakari Empire. We would like to discuss your planet's rapid rise to prominence." King steeled himself, recognizing the barely veiled hostility in Skith's tone. "Of course, Ambassador. Earth is always open to dialogue with our fellow council members." As they talked, King became acutely aware of the undercurrents of fear and resentment among some of the established powers. Earth's technological prowess and military success against the Kazina had not gone unnoticed. Meanwhile, Admiral Hawke stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UES Vigilant, the first of Earth's rapid response fleet. The ship hummed with power, its systems a perfect blend of human ingenuity and Brunali technology. "Status report," Hawke barked, his eyes scanning the holographic display showing the borders of human and Brunali space. "All systems nominal, Admiral," his XO responded. "Early warning outposts are online and fully operational." Hawke nodded, his expression grim. Intelligence reports of Kazin fleet movements near their borders had been increasing. He knew it was only a matter of time before the humiliated Empire sought revenge. On Earth, Colonel Marcus Vega, freshly promoted after his heroics aboard the Kazin flagship, assembled a team of Earth's finest covert operatives. Their mission, to investigate and neutralize potential Kazin sabotage attempts against key human and Brunali installations. "This is not just about protecting our assets," Vega briefed his team. "It's about sending a message. We're not the easy targets the Kazin thought we were." As tensions simmered, a new player entered the game. The arrival of a Zothar Confederacy envoy on Earth sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community. The isolationist empire, known for its advanced technology and strategic position bordering Kazin space, had never before shown interest in galactic affairs. President Steele met with the Zothar representative in a secure location beneath the White House. The aliens' offer was clear: a secret military alliance against the Kazin. "This could be the advantage we need," Steele mused, his fingers steepled in thought. but at what cost to our standing in the Council? The decision deeply affected on Earth leadership as reports came in of a startling discovery on the Brunali homeworld. Amidst the reconstruction efforts, workers had uncovered ruins of staggering technological sophistication. Dr. Elena Reyes, lead xenoarchaeologist at the site, could barely contain her excitement as she reported to a joint human-Brunali research team. These artifacts suggest the Brunali once possessed technology rivaling the most advanced Council races. If we can unlock their secrets... Her words were cut short by a sudden alarm. On the fringes of explored space, a human colony had just sent out a distress signal. Unknown forces were attacking. As Earth scrambled to respond, the fragile peace in the galaxy teetered on the brink. The human-Brunali alliance faced its first major test since the Kazin conflict, with the eyes of the galaxy watching to see how they would react to this new threat. Admiral Hawk's voice crackled over the intercom on the bridge of the UES Vigilant. "All hands, battle stations. We're about to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." The bridge erupted into action as officers rushed to their stations, preparing for the impending conflict. As the UES Vigilant powered up its engines, a priority transmission came through. Admiral Hawk's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression grim. "Commodore Chen, you're to lead Task Force Aegis to the colony immediately. We're dealing with an unknown hostile force. Your orders are to engage and protect our people at all costs." Commodore Sarah Chen, standing tall on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Intrepid, nodded sharply. "Understood, Admiral. We're moving out now." Task Force Aegis, comprising 5 state-of-the-art warships, jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind a shimmering distortion in the fabric of space-time. As they hurtled towards the besieged colony, Chen studied the incoming data, her mind racing through possible scenarios. The task force dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the colony's system. The scene that greeted them was chaos incarnate. Strange, organic-looking ships swarmed around the human settlement, their hulls pulsing with an eerie, bioluminescent glow. "Full sensor sweep," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. "I want to know what we're up against." Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Ravi Patel, reported quickly. "Ma'am, we're detecting approximately 30 enemy vessels. They appear to be biomechanical in nature. Our database has no match for their configuration." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Biomechanical? Interesting. Open a channel to the colony." The colony's governor appeared on screen, his face streaked with sweat and grime. "Commodore, thank God you're here. These things, they came out of nowhere. They're trying to land ground forces." "We'll handle it, Governor. Hold tight." Chen turned to her crew. "Battle stations, all ships, engage the enemy. Priority on protecting the colony and preventing any landings." The human ships surged forward, their hybrid human-Brunali weapon systems powering up. Brilliant lances of energy sliced through space, impacting the alien vessels. To Chen's surprise, where their weapons struck, the biomechanical ships seemed to writhe in pain. "They're alive," she muttered, watching as a wounded enemy ship began to regenerate its damaged hull. "Tactical, adjust targeting parameters. Aim for what appear to be vital systems." The battle above the colony intensified. Earth's ships, though outnumbered, proved their worth. The latest innovations born from the human-Brunali alliance gave them an edge, their shields deflecting the strange, corrosive projectiles fired by the alien ships. But the enemy was relentless. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Chen watched as one of her destroyers, the UES Dauntless, took a direct hit to its engines. "Intrepid to Dauntless, what's your status?" she called out. "Engineering's hit bad, Commodore," came the strained reply. "We've got fires on multiple decks, attempting to reroute power, but we're sitting ducks here." Chen made a split-second decision. "All ships create a defensive perimeter around the Dauntless. We're not losing anyone today." As the battle raged on, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this attack than met the eye. The tactics employed by these biomechanical ships seemed oddly familiar, reminiscent of Kizin aggression patterns. Her suspicions were confirmed moments later when her communications officer intercepted a transmission. "Commodore, we've picked up a signal. It's It's Kazin. Chen's blood ran cold. On screen, the transmission was garbled, but the image of a Kazin commander giving orders to what appeared to be one of the biomechanical entities was unmistakable. "Record everything," Chen ordered, "and get me a secure line to Admiral Hawk. He needs to see this now." As she prepared to brief Hawk, Chen watched the colony below. Fiery streaks lit up the atmosphere as enemy landing craft breached their defenses. The ground battle had begun, and with it a new chapter in humanity's struggle for survival among the stars. In the tense moments that followed, Chen knew that the outcome of this battle would echo across the galaxy. The Human-Brunali alliance was about to be tested like never before, and the eyes of the Galactic Council were undoubtedly upon them. With unwavering persistence, she turned back to the tactical display, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Ahead, Chen's eyes widened as a blinding flash of light erupted from the planet's surface, momentarily overwhelming the view screen's filters. "What in the name of—" she began, but her words were cut short as the ship's systems began to flicker and alarms blared across the bridge. "Commodore, we're detecting massive energy surges across the entire system," Lieutenant Patel reported, his fingers flying over his console. "It's not just here. We're picking up similar readings from all over the galaxy." Chen watched in awe as the space around them seemed to ripple and distort. Suddenly, a colossal structure materialized near the embattled colony, its surface etched with intricate patterns that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "My God," Chen breathed. "Get me Admiral Hawk, now!" Admiral Hawk's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of concern and grit. "Commodore, I assume you're seeing this?" "Affirmative, sir. What are your orders?" Hawk's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. "This changes everything. All forces are to regroup around that structure immediately. Whatever it is, we can't let it fall into enemy hands." As Chen relayed the orders to her task force, she noticed the Vorax and Kizin fleets had ceased their assault, seemingly as stunned by the artifact's appearance as the human forces. "Sir, the enemies halted their attack," Chen reported. "This might be our chance to evacuate the remaining colonists." Hawk nodded. "Do it, and get our people on the ground to fortify defensive positions around that structure. We need to secure it before the Kizin or Vorax make their move." Chen set her plan in motion, coordinating with ground forces to extract the colonists while positioning her ships to form a protective barrier around the mysterious artifact. As the evacuation proceeded, a familiar voice crackled over the comms. "Commodore Chen, this is Colonel Vega. My team and I are inbound with crucial intel on Xin Vorax communications. Request permission to come aboard." "Granted, Colonel. We'll need every advantage we can get." As Vega's team was brought aboard, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The artifact loomed in the view screen, its presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Suddenly, the structure pulsed with blinding intensity. Chen shielded her eyes, and when she looked again, she gasped. A shimmering energy field had expanded outward from the artifact, enveloping all ships in the vicinity. "Weapon systems are offline," Patel shouted, panic evident in his voice. "The field's affecting all ships, not just ours." Before Chen could respond, a massive holographic projection materialized in the space between the gathered fleets. It depicted a being unlike any Chen had ever seen, clearly ancient, with an air of unfathomable wisdom and power. "I am Zelnaga," the being announced, its voice resonating not through the ship's speakers, but directly in Chen's mind. "Last of the precursors, your conflict has awakened us, and now you face a final test. Representatives from each faction will enter our crucible and undergo a series of trials. Those deemed worthy will inherit our legacy in the future of this galaxy." Chen exchanged a glance with Colonel Vega, who had just arrived on the bridge. The implications were staggering. Admiral Hawk's voice came through once more. "Commodore, I'm taking a team into that structure. You're to maintain our position out here and be ready for anything." "Understood, sir. Good luck." As Hawk's team prepared to depart, Chen watched the other factions scrambling to assemble their own representatives. The Kizin and Vorax, clearly reluctant but unwilling to forfeit such an opportunity, began dispatching teams of their own. Hours passed as Chen and her crew waited in tense silence. The artifact pulsed with energy, occasionally emitting strange, ethereal sounds that sent shivers down Chen's spine. She couldn't help but wonder what trials Hawk and the others were facing inside. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the energy field surrounding the ships dissipated. The massive hologram of Xel'Naga reappeared, but this time it was accompanied by smaller projections of Admiral Hawk and Ambassador Korra. "The trial is complete," Xel'Naga announced. "The human Brunali alliance has proven themselves worthy successors. They alone chose to share the gift of knowledge with all sentient beings, demonstrating the wisdom and compassion necessary to guide this galaxy into a new era." Chen watched in amazement as tendrils of energy flowed from the artifact to Hawk and Korra, suffusing them with a soft golden glow. When it faded, the Admiral's eyes shone with newfound power and understanding. "To all ships in the vicinity," Hawk's voice boomed, carrying an authority that seemed to resonate through space itself. "This conflict is over. Stand down and prepare for peace negotiations." With a gesture, Hawk caused the weapon systems of the Kizan and Vorax ships to go offline permanently. The enemy fleets, faced with such overwhelming power, had no choice but to comply. As the reality of their victory sank in, Chen allowed herself a moment of relief, but she knew this was only the beginning. With their new status as inheritors of the Precursor's legacy, the human Brunali alliance faced challenges and responsibilities beyond anything they had imagined. The bridge erupted into cheers, but Chen remained focused on the display, watching as ships from the Galactic Council began to arrive. She knew that the decisions made in the coming days would shape the future of not just humanity and the Brunali, but the entire galaxy. "Admiral," she said, opening a channel to Hawk, "what are your orders?"
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.